Good morning. My name is Andy Huckabee with Huckabee and Associates, and I serve as chair of the Lenexa Chamber's Legislative Committee. It's my honor today to moderate today's forum featuring the candidates for the Kansas House District 14, which includes parts of North Central Olathe and South Central Lenexa. On behalf of the Johnson County Public Policy Council, a collaboration of all 10 area local chambers of commerce, and in particular on behalf of today's co-hosts, the Olathe and Lenexa chambers, I'd like to welcome everyone. Joining me are incumbent Kansas Representative Charlotte Esau, the Republican candidate, and Angela Schweller, the Democratic candidate. You can read about their backgrounds and experience at the Public Policy Council website, which is www.votejoco.com. Also joining me as the timekeeper is Natalie Bright of the Olathe Chamber. I'll briefly share the format for our forum, which will include 2-minute opening statements by the candidates, a moderated question and answer period during which candidates will have 1.5 minutes to respond, followed at the end by a 1-minute closing statement. Today's questions, which focus on business issues, were developed by the Public Policy Council. Due to time constraints, there will be no follow-up questions, formal rebuttal time, or viewer participation. The Q&A and chat functions are disabled. Candidate speaking order has been randomly determined in advance with the candidates and will rotate throughout the program. Now, let's begin with our opening statements. I'll ask Charlotte Esau to start.
Thank you, and thank you all for hosting this morning and for putting up with a little bit of our fun getting us going. I am Charlotte Esau. I have lived in Olathe now for more than 30 years. My family and I moved here for a job, and we've stayed, raised our children, and now our grandchildren are growing up here. I am a mom, a grandma, a small business owner, and I love the legislative process and everything that's involved in what goes on there in Topeka. Some people say we get off into the weeds, and that's the part that I enjoy, is when we're having fun like that. But I also enjoy getting out and going door to door and seeing everyone in the district, which has been a great change to be able to get back here and walk all the doors and talk to everybody. So that's just a little bit about me. I'm happy to answer any additional questions if someone wants to contact me and ask for something specific.
Thank you, Charlotte. Now we'll turn to Angela Schweller, candidate number 2.
Good job on Schweller. You're doing it good. I'm Angela Justus Schweller, and obviously running for House District 14 here in Lenexa and Olathe. And this is the second time that I ran for this seat. The first time being in 2018, and we came very close that year to winning, just 175 votes off, which was a call for change. And so I'm giving it a go again. The reasons are still the same. I want to just bring more balance to Topeka and make sure that we have a representative who's really looking out for the things that make our community so great. My husband and I both graduated from Johnson County Public Schools, and we've chosen to raise our kids here, and it's for the same opportunities that our parents chose, and that's our exceptional education here locally. I'm a wife, a small business owner, and a mom, and a residential realtor, and an active volunteer in our community. I understand and see the reasons people love to live here, and as well as the challenges that they face. I believe that solutions to the difficult problems we are seeing will require elected officials to consider differing viewpoints and support legislation that's based on evidence and not partisan politics. Our district would benefit from and deserves a representative who listens to the concerns of the people, thinks critically, and can enact pragmatic solutions. And I know that I can be that representative. As I mentioned, I'm a residential realtor, and so I have a background in collaborating with the opposing side and coming up with win-win solutions, and in order to get the deal done. So I want to bring these skills with me to Topeka and get things done for the people of Kansas.
Thank you, Angela. Now we're going to go on to the moderated question and answer section. Candidates will have 1.5 minutes each to respond, and the speaking order will rotate with each question. We'll be starting our first question with Angela Schweller. Question 1. As a candidate, what are your top 3 policy issues?
Yeah, this is great. So the primary issues facing our local community are much of what you see across America. We need to protect our public school funding, lower healthcare costs, and have a government that is responsive to the needs of the community. Ensuring that we have great public schools helps our local economy, and it attracts businesses. It increases the resale values in our homes, and it creates a better future for our children and our community. Affordable healthcare, I hear time and time again the needs for it when I'm talking to voters, and it's a concern for our community. There's a broad support for Medicaid expansion in Kansas, and that would be a top priority of mine. Lastly, the people are tired of gamesmanship of politics, and it leads to divisiveness. Being elected to public office, it's an honor and a privilege, and it comes with an opportunity to be a true public servant. And it is also with the responsibility to have clear communication for those that we represent.
Thank you. Now, Charlotte Esau, what are your top 3 policy issues?
Thank you. I want to continue promoting good public policy that helps businesses grow and to add good paying jobs. We need to keep our communities safe, and that is definitely something that I hear as I'm walking around. People are very concerned about that. And we need to support a solid infrastructure and forward thinking, a balanced approach to development. People are concerned that their property values will go down if the wrong developments are near them. And so I get to hear about a lot of things that are really more city and county issues, but that is very much a concern. And we need to be working on a state level to do what we can to encourage good business here, whether it's with our tax policy and being fair with businesses, whether it's in dealing with our property tax problems that we have, especially in how that impacts our seniors who are on fixed incomes, but as their property value goes up, their taxes keep going up, and that isn't something that they budgeted for. We're taxing some of our seniors out of their homes before they're ready to leave their homes, and that's very concerning to me because I want to see us have a balanced neighborhood where we have seniors and young families and all of those in between, and we need to do things that will encourage that kind of tax policy.
Thank you, Charlotte. Back to you, Charlotte, on question number 2. How would you propose to balance the state budget? What specific budget cuts would you support? And what revenue enhancements would you consider, if any?
Well, we're going to face some challenges this year because of the business shutdowns. That's obviously had an impact on our economy and on the revenue coming into the state. Depending upon how quickly businesses recover, I do know many small businesses aren't going to make it through this because of the tough times, but if they do and we have a bounce back and we recover, well, there's still going to be some challenges because we have more spending that we want to do than we have income coming in. And at this point in time, people are not able to handle a tax increase. We've got to find ways to do better with the money that we have. We have a need to cut our sales tax on food, and yet every time we do it, it seems to be in a gotcha kind of vote. And we had a plan last year where we could have ratcheted it down as money was coming in. I want to see those kinds of things done so that we can balance our budget better without hurting the people that are the more low-income people that are just barely making it. We've got to find ways to help them.
Thank you, Charlotte. Angela, same questions.
Yeah, so we're obviously in an ever-changing landscape under the coronavirus pandemic. And so it will be very hard to know what our budget's going to look like until we get there. But we need to follow the leadership of Governor Kelly through this, and as well as making sure that we have our checks and balances on our spending, ensuring that we are being efficient and that we're making smart investments with good returns. And we can't just look at cuts. We need to make sure that we're being creative in our generating of revenue. We're surrounded by states now who have legalized medicinal marijuana. I think that's something we need to investigate, as well as we are one of the top wind producers in the country. And are we fully tapping into that and making sure that we're generating the kind of revenue to help us budget our balance?
Thank you, Angela. And Angela, what would you do to grow and further develop the state's workforce?
Yeah, so as a realtor, it's my job to keep up with the trends in our area. And right now, we are seeing the trends of losing skilled and educated workers to other states. It's very hard to see, what is the incentive for students to come here? We're pricing them out of our higher education. And so we need to invest in that as well as our digital infrastructure to make sure we're attracting the type of people that want to stay and create business here. We need to be kind of creative and tax credits for student debt, maybe incentivizing the workers that stay here in the area. Expanding Medicaid is another policy that we need to consider. Just Johnson County alone would benefit from 1,300 jobs here locally by expanding Medicaid. And let's keep in mind that a well-educated workforce attracts businesses here. It will create more job opportunity, as well as increase our spending power. So making sure that we are investing in things that have a good return on investment.
Thank you. Charlotte, same question. What would you do to grow and further develop the state's workforce?
We need to encourage businesses to make their home in Kansas and grow their business here, hire our graduates so that they have a reason to stay here with good paying jobs. We need to reduce the burden of licensure so individuals who come here that have license in other states are able to jump right into the workforce and not make them go through all kinds of additional hoops before they're able to have employment, especially if they're following a spouse here for a job or because of the military. We need to do things to encourage internships and apprenticeships for folks to be able to get into jobs that don't necessarily require a four-year degree. A four-year degree is becoming an incredibly expensive thing, and many times the degree you go get a job and you're not able to pay off the cost of what it took you to obtain that degree. And that needs to change, or we need to find new ways to obtain the education that we need to have our jobs. Perhaps we do things so that we have more trying to think of what the right word is, but specific training for specific jobs. And we could do things like that as a state by encouraging those kinds of things, perhaps think outside the box and not do things in quite such a traditional way.
Thank you, Charlotte. And again, Charlotte, question number 4, what are your views on K through 12 public education funding?
K-12 public education funding takes up an incredible amount of our budget. It does hamstring us in some ways because we have to spend such a large amount of the budget there that we don't have a lot of money available for other needs that we have in the state. However, this pandemic has definitely changed the way people are looking at education. We have seen innovative ways to deliver educational opportunities to our students, and I'm thrilled to see that our educational system has stepped up and is working to deliver those options to parents. And so we have to continue doing what we're doing and do it really well. But we need to, again, I use this phrase a lot, but think outside the box. Think of new ways that we can deliver education and think of the students first. What is going to deliver a quality education to each student in each community in our state, and do it in the most efficient way, and basically encourage our students to thrive and to do well, whether they do it through a traditional means, whether they're doing it online, whether they're doing private school, whether they're doing homeschool. There's all kinds of options out there that we can do and fund our schools well.
Thank you. Again, Angela, same question. Your views on K through 12 public education funding?
Yeah, so this was one of the main reasons why I decided to run in 2018. It's when I realized that the representative at the time wasn't necessarily reacting to the years of litigation of inadequate funding for our public schools. And here in the time of COVID, it becomes very apparent again the inequities that we face as a state for our kids and educating them across the state. Classroom sizes is a huge thing, that where it's very hard. My son's in elementary school. He's in hybrid right now because they're trying to ease their way back in, but their classroom sizes are too big. And so we've got to get back down to where our sizes are below 20 or more in the classroom. Special ed is another thing I hear about over and again. We have got to invest in that and help our families that have students and kids with special ed needs, and make sure that they're getting the resources that they need, especially in this pandemic. Protecting outside interests that are pushing for our public dollars to go to private schools through vouchers and tax credits. They're going to take advantage of this time, and it's something that we really need to keep an eye on, because we don't want to lose our funding and go backwards. Now that we finally have gotten out of that litigation, we want to continue to invest in the future of our state and our people. As a realtor, I understand that public schools are the backbone of our community, and we've got to protect them and invest in them for our future.
Question number 5, starting with Angela. What types of economic development policies will you support to encourage job growth and business expansion in Kansas?
Yeah, it's a lot of the same of that other question about creating a bigger workforce. And it goes back to just what incentives do we have for retaining workers here? We want to make sure that we have an inclusive environment for our workers here in Kansas. Incentive, maybe again with doing tax credits for student debt. And making sure that we understand the value in higher education and what that does for return on investment.
Thank you. Charlotte, same question. What types of economic development policies will you support to encourage job growth and business expansion in Kansas?
We did pass a couple of things in the last legislative session. I do not recall if they made it past the veto pen or not. To give some economic incentives for some job opportunities for folks in certain industries where we don't have enough people. Perhaps that's one of the things that we could try again and look at it in a broader manner. Some of the things that I have said earlier, that we need to do what we can to make it more business friendly here. We've been taxing our businesses at a rate that is higher than what it is in competing states nearby. And so many of our big businesses aren't looking at this as a place to come. We need both big and small businesses here, because those big businesses often bring lots of jobs and opportunity for folks. And we need to do what we can to make this a more tax-friendly place for all businesses of all sizes.
Thank you. Question 6 to Charlotte. What are your views on state tax policy, and being as specific as you can?
Sorry, I almost forgot to unmute there. We have to solve the problem that right now we do not have a balance for our standard deduction on the state level that matches what's going on the federal level. So many people are now not itemizing on the federal level, and they're turning around and finding their taxes are very high on the state level. That has to be fixed, whether we raise the standard deduction to bring it up to where it needs to be from the last time that we've raised it, and then perhaps index it in some way to when the federal one changes, the state one would change, or if we allow people to do what some people call decoupling, which isn't as liked as well by the Department of Revenue. I can understand some of their concerns in that regard. We have to address the imbalance of corporate taxes between our neighboring states. And if local governments continue to burden our homeowners with ever-increasing property taxes, we've got to find a way to modernize property tax relief for our seniors and make it possible for them to continue to stay in their homes. And I have a few ideas on that, but they do often get off into the weeds. But we did have a couple of things we were trying to do right before COVID shut us down. We're going to work on those and adjust them slightly and do something so that we can provide property tax relief.
Thank you. Angela, same question on tax policy.
Yeah, Representative Esau brought up a good point about the fact that our federal level, the Tax Cuts and Job Act bill did stop our Kansans from being able to itemize their deductions. And so I think it would be important to decouple from the federal government so that we can start deducting things such as property tax and mortgage interest. Another thing is our tax rate for groceries and other essential items in Kansas is one of the most regressive tax systems in the country. So we've got to figure out a way where we can balance that out and give some relief to our hardworking Kansans and make up for it somewhere else. We're still trying to rebalance from the tax experiment of the Brownback era, and that resulted in a lot of increases in property taxes because local municipalities had to make up the difference for the losses that they had. And so we've got to figure out how to get more in balance and make those adjustments to our tax structure so that we can get our income, sales, and property taxes back in balance and fair for all Kansans.
Thank you. Question number 7, and this is to Angela. What are your views on healthcare policy?
Well, so for healthcare policy, many people are one emergency room visit from life-altering hardship. And I just don't feel like that is okay. As a state, we continually fail at getting Medicaid expansion passed. We're in the minority now for not having that passed. And we have turned away over $4 billion that could have been reinvested into our state and into our people. And not only is that not fiscally responsible, it's not morally responsible. Medicaid expansion would be top priority, and it's supported by our chambers and our citizens. And it would help 150,000 Kansans have accessible health care, accessible, affordable health care. It would create 13,000 jobs, and as well, it would save lives. So in Johnson County alone, we would see an investment of $58 million, as well as 1,300 jobs created. And so Medicaid expansion would be a huge first step to getting us to a place where Kansans can really afford and access healthcare.
Charlotte, same question.
If we expand Medicaid before we fix the problem that we have with Medicaid right now, that is going to do a disservice to the folks that are on waiting lists and not getting services that they qualify for and they are waiting years to get. To me, that is just simply not an acceptable option. We have to take care of those folks first. If we expand Medicaid, we are going to spend 10% of state dollars paying for that coverage. And we're already looking at a tight budget. We're going to see the people who are on waiting lists are going to get bumped longer and longer on those waiting lists. I simply cannot justify that as I'm talking to citizens in my district. They're upset about these waiting lists. They want it fixed, and that's what we have to address first. We have to meet their needs before we can go out and say, what are we going to do to address the folks that are in what some people call a gap? There are options out there. There are good options. We've unfortunately done away with some of them because of the fact that we're just looking at, well, we'll just expand Medicaid and that will fix everything. I don't see Medicaid expansion as the easy fix that a lot of people are talking about.
Thank you. Question number 8, and this is to Charlotte. What do you believe most distinguishes you from your opponent in this race?
There are a number of things, one of them being the fact that I do have experience in Topeka. I don't see that as a negative. I see it as a positive because I know who I can go talk to. I know the people in the legislature and where we can work together. Some of the property tax things that we were working on, they were bipartisan solutions. We had Democrats that were excited about it, Republicans that were excited about it. I don't care what the party label is. I just want to get things done, to do things to help make life better for the citizens right here in District 14. I am excited about things such as working on Highway K10 because it's very high up in the priority on spending. We're not working on our section this time, but we are very close. It's way up high. That's one of the things I definitely want to keep a close eye on. I already have that relationship built up with the Transportation Department. And I am still a grassroots person at my inner core. So when I'm looking at things in Topeka, I'm not looking at it from a political point of view. I'm looking at it from what is it the people really want to do, and what is it that they want government to do, and what do they not want government to do.
Thank you. Angela, what do you believe most distinguishes you from your opponent in this race?
So what makes our community so great is when we work together for progress. Being elected to a public office is an honor and a privilege, and it comes with a responsibility to listen and communicate clearly. I believe in engaging with our community and getting out there and seeing how policy is truly impacting the people around us, the businesses around us, and making sure that we are doing the things that invest in the future of our community. I believe in a strong public education system. I believe in affordable healthcare and Medicaid expansion as a gateway to starting that process. And I believe in a responsible, open communication line, transparent government.
Thank you. Now we're on to our closing statements. Candidates will have 1 minute each to present closing statements, given in reverse order of the opening statements. So Angela, you start.
Sure. So as I stated in the beginning, I grew up in Johnson County. I went to Shawnee Mission Public Schools. I graduated from KU, and I chose to move back here for the opportunities to start my career and my family. And it was the same reasons that my parents did it. It's an amazing place to live. And most of that comes from the fact that we have a great public school system that really sets people up for a successful future. I want to make sure that we engage with the people in the community and that we have these open, honest communication lines so that their voices feel like they are really heard and that they are being represented well. I look forward to being the representative of this area, and I encourage people to reach out to me and share your thoughts and concerns. I'm calling you on the phone, but if I haven't gotten you yet, definitely reach out to me because I want to hear from you and be your representative. Thanks so much, you guys, for having this today.
Thank you. Charlotte, closing statement.
Thank you. And thank you guys again for hosting this and for putting it on so that people can both hear and see and read what our various positions are. I've raised my family here, and I will do whatever it takes to continue making this a great place for all families to do likewise. I want people to say, yes, this is where I want to come and live and have a job and raise my family, raise my grandkids. I have experience dealing with the legislative process that benefits our district when we need to get things done. I enjoy listening to the people. That is what I'm out doing now. I love getting emails from folks. I get so many emails I often read but don't get a chance to reply, but I do attempt to reply to as many as I can. I would be incredibly honored to be able to serve again for another 2 years, and it is something that is definitely a passion of mine, and I enjoy the process and getting to know everyone that is in our district. And if people have questions, I'm very happy to answer them. Just reach out to me and I'll do the best I can to get back with you.
Thank you. This concludes our forum for the House District 14, featuring candidates Representative Charlotte Esau and Angela Schweller. On behalf of the Olathe and Lenexa Chambers of Commerce and the entire Johnson County Public Policy Council, thank you for participating in today's program and providing voters with this important opportunity to hear from you. This forum has been recorded, will be posted on the Public Policy Council's public nonpartisan voter website, which is www.votejoco.com, where you will also find more information about the candidates, videos of other candidate forums, and advanced voting details. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.